rule number one of AI, please proofread your work. Make sure that it's actually valid. So yeah, egg on my face, thinking that they had the best adoption in the world. They called it out. They're like, you might want to check your data. I don't recognize any of those names or companies. Let's rerun that. And sure enough, egg on my face. So not every workflow is perfect.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Partnerships Unlocked. I'm your host, Greg Portnoy, co-founder and CEO of Euler. And today I have the one and only Brad Smith on. Very excited to chat with him and have him share some of his knowledge and insights with you. We have fast tactical conversations with the best partner leaders in the game. Brad, can you please introduce yourself?
Happy to. Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here. Yeah, kind of an interesting background and intro, but I'll keep it at warp speed pace. It really started in my career, at least on the early stage startup side of things, all been based here in Atlanta. I started that about 15 years ago and just fell in love with it. All things venture-backed businesses, private equity-backed businesses. But my role in particular was always focused on RevOps. So much so that I ran RevOps at 3 different businesses here in Atlanta. Found a pretty big need in that market for, especially in the Salesforce ecosystem side of things, to go start my own business. Ran it for 6 years, raised a little over 25 million in venture capital over 3 different rounds. Then moved over to Zapier, where I'm at most recently, running partnerships here. So interesting journey there, though. Didn't start in partnerships. It's actually more in a technical role here to start with, leading our solution architects team. But just started building out this new startup and investor partnerships channel at the beginning of the year. So we're approximately 2 quarters into it, doing a lot of reflecting on what H1 looked like and what we can do to keep making H2 run as fast as we did earlier this year. But excited to be here, man.
That's awesome. I love talking to folks that come from an non-typical background into something like this, and yours is probably up there in terms of non-typical. What drew you to partnerships, if I may ask?
Yeah. So funny, a lot of people know this about Zapier, but we are not in that venture-backed bucket. We're a 15-year-old business, a little over 800 employees, and all bootstrapped. And so, middle of the year last year, I was talking with a couple of folks on our executive team, and asking specifically about this as a channel. When you think about accelerators, venture capital, private equity, is there a distribution way that or a mechanism that you can go to those channels, create different relationships and partnerships, and start to distribute your product that way? And the short answer is yes. But when I was having these conversations middle of the year last year, I was asking folks if we do this, and the short answer was no. That's not the circles that we have a lot of those conversations in. And I just told everyone, well, that was the circles, and those were the conversations I was having a lot of in the previous years when I was running my business. I think it's a great idea for us to go do it. And a handful of conversations and business case later, started the role at the beginning of the year. But it's interesting, right? Like I saw so much value in this. And shout out to anyone here that's on value creation teams, platform teams, COEs. Goes by a lot of different names and naming conventions, as we know. But as a founder, I found those extremely helpful. I was constantly jumping into webinars and executive briefings, and of course taking advantage of specific discounts and deals that we have with vendors and partnerships. And yeah, telling our executive team here about the benefits that I saw as a founder, but also the benefits we could have as a business in operating those channels was a no-brainer for us. And we're already seeing a lot of early results so far.
Yeah, so being somewhat newer into the space, and you're focusing on a type of partnerships that I think is becoming very popular right now, which is partnerships with investment firms. What have you kind of learned about that space? Maybe what's one unlock that you've found or tried so far that has worked really well for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. Investors are investors, and we know inside of these businesses there's really kind of 2 sides to the house. You have your check cutters and your board members, and those are the folks that are truly like really rolling their sleeves up and being in the weeds with their portcos. But you also have that support team, like I was talking about, those platform folks. And I think the one unlock for both of those, in order for me to have a constructive conversation, is they need to know what an existing footprint even looks like for Zapier. Are folks in their portfolio using our platform already? If so, how are they using it? Where are they using it the most? Where are folks that could be using it even better? At the end of the day, if you're an investor and people are using that capital to go hire folks, buy other software, you want to make sure they're using it the right way. And so the first unlock that I realized very early in this journey was I don't get to show up to conversations empty-handed. In fact, I have to show up to a lot of these conversations, whether it be with the actual investor or someone on the platform team, with data points to understand how we can be impactful to them. Not necessarily, hey, can we just jump onto your perks page and give you guys a great discount to use our product? That comes along in conversations and you have that part of the business to talk about. But showing up to a meeting with an understanding of how much saturation we already have in the portfolio, what products of ours are these portfolio companies using? Are any of them are using more of our new AI products? I don't have to tell you this, Greg, but we're all on this AI journey together, right? And hearing that from a third party sometimes is an interesting view for investors to get that information. Like, and I tell them this: look at this whole report that I read out to you. You know, none of it is secretive information. They can share it with some of their portfolio companies. It talks about like product usage and what they're actually using. Go give some high fives to your portfolio companies, to the folks inside those walls that are building things with MCP, that are building new agents to go and adopt whatever workflow it is they're using to move faster with it. They're getting unlocks. And I think that deserves high fives at times. One of my favorite parts of that unlock is like, we do this like top 10 readout of all their portfolio companies of who is adopting AI the best and who might not be. And the constructive part of that conversation is, guys, you don't even need me to help facilitate this. I would suggest you talk to those first, those top 3 or 4 portcos, see what they're doing, and hook them up with their counterparts at the bottom end of that list. You know, be better together. If it's through the Zapier medium, great. If not, also great. Like people need to be adopting this. We're moving so fast in this AI era that if you're not adopting quickly and you're not in this forever learner mindset, man, you're going to be left behind so quick.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's funny because you basically just described like add value to the partner, like lead with value, which is what you would do in any kind of partnership. But I think a lot of folks that have not worked with PE or VC firms, they don't know like what would be valuable to them. Like what do they value? What's worth, their time? What's going to get them out of bed in the morning? So, normally I would say just go ask them. I don't know if that would necessarily work with a PE or VC. I don't know if they know what they want until they see it. But what would you say, like for folks that are wanting to build that channel, like what's step one?
Yeah. Step one, I mean, it is certainly still a network game. I think that's one of the reasons why I've seen a little bit of success early on with this. Coming from that world, I had a pretty decent Rolodex of investors, and it was kind of easy to shoot them a couple of texts or start having those conversations to see where we can get in. But I would say knowing the value that you're going into, but also it certainly never hurts to ask. And I would encourage anyone to ask. Be very direct. And if, again, I don't think I have any sort of cheat codes behind this from my time being a founder and having a lot of these conversations, but one thing to be true in business, and especially when talking with investors, is get your point across fast and certainly give them factual information. Last thing you ever want to do is lie to anybody, but very last thing you ever want to do is lie to an investor. That'd be silly. But also ask them and be open and transparent with them. One of the things that I do every conversation, we're building this program for the first time. I am here as a student also to learn the game and make sure that I'm playing it the right way. How are you seeing other partners coming to you in similar conversations? What's working with them? How do you like to partner with us? Expect some brutal honesty. Sometimes they will just tell you, "Brad, it's great to meet you. Love to be in partnership with Zapier. Let's talk about discounts so I can distribute those through my network," and that's it. And if they're that blunt with you, great. You would rather have people tell you what they want out of it than be sugarcoated and not. And so expect some pretty direct truths. That's how this market and this part of the ecosystem operates. I love it. You know exactly what you're getting. You know if you're going to be told yes or going to be told no. So yeah, come in with data, be a curious learner, and ask them truly, how do you want to partner best? What works best for you? And they will tell you bluntly how to work.
I love that. I love that. So, on the flip side, the more fun question, what's something you tried that you thought would work out really well and it really did not work out well at all and you learned a valuable lesson?
Yeah. I'll stay on that same track as the way I do those analysis, and we're kind of drinking our own champagne when we do this. I use our own platform to do it, but I do those deep research skills, right? And I'm truly building skills in an IDE. I've been using Cursor a lot lately, but now we have our own version of that internally that we're about to go to market with. So I've been using it, and skills are interesting. I do come from a little bit more of a technical background, a lot of Salesforce certifications, leading the solution architects team last year. And so I'm always a let me go roll up my sleeves and build it first. And so I was building some of these skills, and part of that is take a look at the portfolio list from this investment firm, cross reference it with our database, and see what current customers we have, how they're using. Forgot one time to filter out personal email accounts. And so, you learn these things the hard way. We have a lot of people that use Zapier under like a Gmail account. We have a freemium model. You can always go spin up your trial. And I forgot to do that. And it gave me a really big false positive on this portfolio analysis, so much so that, I'll leave the investor's name out of it, but if they're listening to this, they'll remember which one it was. Uh, I essentially gave them the biggest high fives, like, you guys have the highest adoption rate I've ever seen. I'm not sure how. I think they were an investor in Google or had some other partnership with Google at some point. So it looked like Google was like a portfolio company of theirs.
Oh,
And everybody was using their Gmail accounts. So I was like, I've never seen adoption like this. I don't know what you're doing, but this is the best thing in the world. Come to find out, it was pulling all that data from our PLG users that were using Gmail accounts. And so
oh man.
it wasn't until I was live on the call with them. I was kind of in a hurry. I didn't proofread my work. Rule number one of AI, please proofread your work. Make sure that it's actually valid. So yeah, egg on my face, thinking that they had the best adoption in the world. They called it out. They were like, you might want to check your data. I don't recognize any of those names or companies. Let's rerun that. And sure enough, egg on my face. So not every workflow is perfect.
Okay, that's a great one. Check your data, especially with AI. A modern lesson. All right. Well then, what are two or three other unlocks that you kind of wish you knew earlier in working on partnerships?
Yeah. Um, Partnerships are just interesting in general, and I'll kind of give you a longer-winded answer as to why I see it this way. We have different channels within our partnership here at Zapier. We've got this new channel that I'm spinning up and been working on for the last few quarters. We have solution partners, of course, that are much more hands-on. If we have a customer that needs deeper focus, they'll call one of our SIs and have them help there. And of course, we have integration partners. We have 9,000 plus integrations, and so in those circles, there's a lot of Venn diagrams and a lot of overlap within them. I would say don't base every partner based on book value or what you're looking at them online. Ask curious questions, how they work. A lot of consultancies also have some level of investments they make in places, and so sometimes they can be part of my partnership channel and vice versa. So just kind of keep your eyes and ears open to that. Starting this program at the beginning of the year, I didn't think I was going to have a fourth channel, and I have one now. And it doesn't look and feel exactly like investors, but it does. Think about some of these executive communities. We all know about Pavilion and Operators Guild and VIA and VC Platform. That is still my core ICP to my channel. It's not exactly because they're stroking checks or they're building large funds, but there's a lot of LPs in those groups, and there's a lot of executives above the fold in those groups that are business decision makers. And so you want to be able to cast that net. And so long and short of that is keep your sort of peripheral vision on, especially if you're building a channel out for the first time. Don't say no to specific channel partners. Just if they come inbound and like that doesn't fit my mold, I'm not even going to have a conversation with them. Every conversation is valuable. That is, I think, the core and the root of partnerships, right? So having that, I would say it's an unlock for me now. It was a little bit of a hurdle to begin with, but building something out new and having that work into existing business flows and business systems, yeah, you're gonna have to take some modifications. We have two CRMs here at Zapier, one for partnerships and one for our sales team. I am still helping our sales team think about their pipeline, how I can expedite deals, how I can influence them. Well, we had to do a lot of systematic talking to make sure these two CRMs were talking to each other the right way. So don't overassume, even as a system admin, as a guy who used to go in the back end and configure everything within Salesforce, I still had to learn like what is the right business process? How are we collecting this data? How are we reporting on it? I think that was probably two. The third one, going back to leveraging AI for this. Um, Gosh, man, I could spend another hour with you on this about how we think about it differently, how we're thinking about the use and really getting the efficiency out of it. It's okay to go a little slower with AI at times. I am personally a victim of this or guilty of it. I will get into just a deep, deep, deep chat with one of my agents, and super valuable, a lot of like good things coming out of it. And I don't do that last thing that we all think about, but we don't do. Great, let's go ahead and add that as a skill because this is a repeatable pattern for me. We use an acronym internally: frequent, annoying, and repeatable. If it's far, create some type of automation for it or some type of skill. And there's times I forget to do that. Where people might get their hand caught in the cookie jar, so to say, is if you're running some of these skills, especially if you're looking at data and analytics and reporting out of some of these IDEs and some of these agents, you're either, copying and pasting that into a spreadsheet or taking a screenshot, whatever you're doing to do it. Save some of that because there's a good chance you're going to report on a number right now that somebody a month from now might ask you about. It's like, well, great. Well, how's the progress then? It's like, oh man, I forgot to save my report. It's such a silly analogy to like back in the day of being a Salesforce admin and a rep would come to you like, I had this report built out at one point. I guess I didn't save it, but I don't know how to get back to it again. Can you help me save this again? I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to do that. That same problem space is happening in AI right now. We're working deeply in it, but we're not saving our work and categorizing it in a way that you can reference it again, rerun that same report one more time, update your dashboard. People are just moving a little too fast. So it's okay to slow down a little bit and keep your room clean in this AI era.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one, I think a lot of people are going to get stuck on that one. And well, they'll learn the hard way. Better to use it than not. But one kind of final question that I don't normally ask, but you are a unique guest that has also been a founder, and now you're working in partnerships. And we always talk about how partnerships is an incredibly, one, entrepreneurial role, but also very, very similar to like building a business within a business. As someone that has now done both, how would you compare those two things?
Ooh, they are more similar than I imagine a lot of people lead on to. But I think one of the, I call it humanizing, humbling also potentially ways that I think about this is, yeah, I am starting my own business inside of a business. I'm taking it 0 to 1. Nobody was in this seat before. We had to build business cases to do it the same way I had to fundraise to go start my business and be able to go run it. Um, Keep that founder's mindset. Keep building. I'm a forever builder, regardless of the role that I'm in. Build something. Like always be taking something from 0 to 1 if you can. But I think the one interesting difference between all that is I'm starting my own business inside of an 800-person business, and even when you're doing that, it reminds you that you still have to work cross departmentally. You still have to be able to scratch somebody else's back across the aisle. Just because I am the expert of my domain or the one person inside this group that's doing this one job doesn't mean I need help and support from others. And I think, man, I know you would agree with this also. It's just because you're running a business doesn't mean that you get to do all of it by yourself. Having places to delegate, having places to be able to ask for help and be humble enough to ask for help. And that was a hard bridge for me to cross in my first couple of years of founding a business. I don't want to be looked at as the guy who doesn't know all the answers. My three favorite words now are I don't know. Like I say it way too often probably because the next couple of words after that are, but I know somebody that can help me find the answer. Or here's how I'm thinking about solving it this way. And so a lot of similarities. And you just got to put your head down and go with it. But that's also the joy, as you know, of starting stuff and being a builder and starting from 0 to 1. There's a lot of gratification, a lot of joy that comes out of that. So yeah, stay humble while doing it, but keep that founder mentality on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with that anymore. The similarities are incredible, and just the need to be resourceful, and to be able to find and work well with other experts is extremely valuable when you're building partnerships. I mean, it's very much the same thing. I can't say enough going the opposite direction than you went. But Brad, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for joining and sharing some of your wisdom with the audience.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. And man, love everything y'all are doing and building over at Euler. Man, keep it up. This is a great time to be in partnerships, and you guys are at the forefront of it. So appreciate you for having me on.
It is. It is. Thank you. Well, till our next chat, Brad. Cheers.
You got it, man. See you, buddy.